And it pained me that when the North stretched forth an olive branch to him, it pained me that he didn't take it. Because if he had taken it, it would be better. But Papa still wanted to work with the people that would always betray him. I remember during the last administration when the president at the time said, no matter what, he was going to construct the second Niger bridge. He constructed that second Niger bridge against all odds. The country was broke. The people he constructed it for still did not appreciate him for it. So, and that is Baba's mentality too. Why are you going towards people that don't like you? Why are you wooing them? In my own opinion, there's an area in Lagos. It's called Mafoluku, close to Oshodi. Is around here. So what happens is that these people, a lot of them are living there. So I have a boss that stays there. So there was a day he said they don't repair their road. I said, oh God, they will never repair your roads. He said, why? I said, you don't play our politics. Even if you do, if they repair the road, it will not mean anything to the politician. That is not to say that politicians should only do things to get votes. But you people are unappreciative. If you cut your head and put on a pedestal for them, they will still not appreciate because it is not what they want. And I think Baba should have understood this because Baba worked with Zik from the 40s. He should have understood, how can you work with a person for over 15 years or close to 20 years at the time of 1960 and not still understand that these people have a terrible motive? Then Baba should have... Let me just tell you where I think Papa was coming from, and I'm going to round off. Papa was coming from the fact that Papa was somebody that came from grass to grace. You understand? Papa, everything Papa got, Papa earned by himself through business. He went to school. But Papa is not like Chief SLE. Chief SLE did not suffer like that. Chief SLE was married to a princess. You understand? So they are more aristocratic and they understand these things. So you cannot judge, and I think Papa was trying to say that let everybody from ground up be able to rule. See, there are some people really that, okay, how about our kings, our royal, we had royal fathers, and they just inherited the throne.
But our just royal fathers didn't have absolute monarchy. No, they didn't have absolute powers. This one has absolute powers.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one.
So
this one
understood the North. Yes, SLE understood the North because he was from at least a. Yes, I'm going to do that. So I like the session, and I hope that we'll hope to learn more. But from this, I'm learning a lot because if you are in a position of leadership, no matter how much of a genius you are, you still have to listen to your followers. Thank you very, very much, and I really appreciate this session. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that as well. One of the beautiful things about this is that sorry, please mute now. Awo himself is the one talking about what happened. He's also the one telling us that he went to Sokoto, he went to this and all of that, which is fair enough for me. I like the fact that he's the one, making that statement, and it's important to learn from that. We're going to go to the next person, Abdurrahman, but we're going to have to time you because it's already late, and you have 5 minutes in the first instance. Abdurrahman, please go on. And everyone, please let's power tap on TikTok. Thank you.
Good evening.
Evening, my brother.
I will start, or let me say I will continue from last week. I started asking you some questions. You answered one, but you promised me the remaining one should be on my... I can take two now. Since
take one. Take one. We'll take the second one on Wednesday. Take one. We'll take the second one on Wednesday. Okay, we'll take one to no, because tomorrow session tomorrow will be very long. So
okay,
take one now, big.
Let's see how it will go. Last time I asked you about, I asked you why you are of the opinion that Chief Awo made a mistake by leaving the region and go for the center, and you expatiated on that. Enjoy your explanation. The second question is that what is your opinion that Chief Awo does not convulse, neither inform Sardona nor Chief Azikwe about the division of action group to move a motion for Nigerian independence, which provoked the other two party leaders.
You heard that on TikTok. You heard that on social media last week. That person was talking nonsense. I know it's an elderly person. The person was saying nonsense. When they walked,
he just
yes,
remind me and jotted it down. But to be fair to him, honestly speaking, I had this like let's say two times. He just reminded me. And
no, I'm saying that when you said that they were angry with him. Okay, no, please finish. I'll read Papa's response to you. I think that would be better.
Okay,
please, I'm sorry.
I finished. All I wanted to say is that my nature. I always want to hear from both sides. Since
Yes.
you are knowledgeable about this current affairs, and then you are grounded in Nigerian history, so I think it is appropriate for me if I throw the question for you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to answer the. By the way, when I said the person was talking, I'm sorry. You see, I don't know what's happening these days. People will just look at something to say. They won't find anything. They'll say, "Oh, Awo," and throw shots. I don't like that thing. I look at anybody they're looking for anybody to insult now. Is Awo. Well, they've been doing it for a long time, sir, but it stops. And this was 51. Oh, beautiful. Let me tell you what happened after they moved the motion. Listen to this. On 31st March 1953, please, I have to mute you. Sorry about that, because we're having feedback. On 31st March 1953, the Action Group precipitated a constitutional crisis, as a result of which a conference for the review of the Macpherson Constitution was held in London from 30th July to 22nd August 1953. Before we went to London for the conference, an alliance was concluded between the Action Group and the NCNC in an unexpected and most dramatic circumstances. Coalition came to embrace me in front of the House of Representative buildings on 31st March 1953, after the members of the NCNC in the House had joined those of my party to walk out of the House. An elderly person is trending on social media. Again, with all due respect to his age, he's ignorant. And I'm not saying this because I'm knowledgeable in everything. I'm just saying that I don't like when people, for some reason, just look at, okay, who should I insult to is Awo? Who should I insult to is Awo? Awo, as you all pass me, I will know who pass you. What is Papa's? This book was published in 1960. He was referring to an event that happened in 1953. What was the event? The motion for independence that was moved in the House of Representatives by Anthony Nauro in 1953, saying that we would like to have independence in 1956. And the idea that I didn't talk to them, number one, is it that they are having, is it an election? It's a motion that was moved. And yes, MPC didn't like it. MPC changed it. Let me see if I can read another book, because I think it's better for us to listen to it, because an adult said it. If I just said what I want to say, it will not be like, was I there? So let's listen to the people that were there. Some of these adults were probably 5 years old when this happened. In fact, my father was older than this person talking. I mean, they are old. Just because a person is old does not mean they know what happened. Some of us don't know what's happening right now. Imagine 20 years from now, your children say something. Now say that because I'm old enough, I know what happened. Ukraine and Russia crisis, now many of us don't know. This whole thing about Ted Cruz saying that there is religious war in Nigeria, many of us don't really care about that. Let me read to you let me show you something from another. So we read from somebody that was born in 1909. This is Akinjide Oshuntokun. The Macpherson Constitution. Let me go back just a bit. Okay, listen to this. Please listen to this carefully. The action group, in accepting to take part in the Macpherson government, made it quite clear that their acceptance was based on the understanding that the constitution, even though imperfect, must be used as a stepping stone to political autonomy and independence. It was the party's belief that independence must be granted by Britain in 1956, and that if this did not happen, Britain should not expect cooperation from the action group. This was the background of the constitutional crisis that was precipitated by the action group in March 1953. The Macpherson Constitution, as stated earlier, led to the creation of the Council of Ministers in the Center at Lagos. The council consisted of 12 Nigerian ministers, 4 from each region. The council was headed by the British governor. With him were the 3 lieutenant governors who rarely attended the meetings. In attendance also were the chief secretary, the financial secretary, and the attorney general. In essence, then, there were 12 Nigerian and 7 British representatives. Most of the members from the north, however, were not professional politicians, but rather representatives of the political status quo, and they tended to vote along with the British in all matters, apparently out of conviction that the demand for independence now of the Southerners was not in the interest of the northern Nigerians. First of all, because the north felt that it was not ready for independence, and secondly, because the Northerners felt that independence now, or in 1956, as the action group was demanding, was unrealistic, and that even if it were possible for the North, the North would end up as a poor relation to the economically more developed South. Thus, when this came up for discussion in the Council of Ministers, the Western Regional Group, including Ladoke Akintola, Arthur Prest, Chief Bode Thomas, and Sadi Soja Aderemi, the Oni of Ife, supported it. The NCNC representatives were lukewarm, and the NPC opposed it. Any observer would have seen that the motion for independence in 1956, tabled in March 1953 by Chief Anthony Enahoro in the federal legislature, stood no chance of being passed yet. Under the inspiration of Chief Awolowo, Enahoro presented the motion for independence in 1956. The motion ended in a deadlock, and the NCNC was split in 2. The action group, having failed to push the House along, walked out with a faction of the NCNC, and the House session had to be adjourned. Before the walkout, Sir Adesoja Aderemi, the Oni of Ife at Oba, ostensibly without any political affiliation or sympathy, but generally known to be inclined towards the action group, resigned as Central Minister. Bode Thomas, Akintola, that's SLA, and Arthur Press were all representing the action group and the Western region, so on and so forth. The episode left, in fact, let me just finish, let me read it properly. Bode Thomas, Akintola, and Arthur Press, all representing the action group and the Western region, followed his example by resigning from the cabinet. The Northerners, after being jeered at and booed, withdrew and went back to the north in anger. The episode left a permanent impression on Sir Ahmadu Bello, the Sardauna of Sokoto, whose opinion of Akintola and Bode Thomas was that one was a clever lawyer and the other was likable, and so on and so forth. Anyway, here's the point. Contrary to what that elderly man said on social media, NCNC did not vote against it. NCNC was actually split in 2. One part went with MPC, the other part went with the action group. In other words, the idea that they didn't talk about it before they came to the meeting, the question you should be asking that person is this: if you're supposed to, you know what, let me even answer using our own present issue. If you, how do I explain? This was not a constitutional matter. This was not like we're traveling to have, we have to have like consensus before we go to talk to the colonial officer. This is, we are home, we're in Nigeria. We have meetings from time to time. We now gather and now move the motion. The man is now saying on social media that they should have had a meeting with MPC and NCNC. Where would they have the meeting? It's not in that place they will have the meeting. That's one. Number 2, why should they have any meeting? In other words, that meeting was the meeting. And people were against it. Some people were for it. NCNC did not go all with NPC. Some went with NPC, some went with AG. And the ones that went with AG, Awo talked about it, was led by Zik himself coming to hug him in front of the House of Representatives in 1953, March 31st. So the idea that, oh, he didn't tell them before he now went to tell Oyinbo, which Oyinbo? It was a meeting. Let me read it again. It was a meeting where they all met. They were all representatives of their people. I don't know what's really happening these days, but thank God for social media, all of us. But that's why it's better to read the books rather than just be talking, so it doesn't look like I'm just saying what's on my mind. It's better to be factual, right? History is sacrosanct. There was no need to have any meeting with anybody. It was not, we are going to meet Oga. Oga will now tell us something. When they were going to have a meeting that required them, when they were going to have a constitutional conference in London that required them to meet beforehand, they met. They met in 57. The meeting at Ikorodu between MPC and AG, and the one that Sardauna now suggested that they should also bring in Azikiwe, and they had another meeting, in Lagos. They met. And even when they met, when they got to London to talk to the Queen, I'm going to London to see the Queen. When they got to London to talk to the Oyinbo, regardless of the memorandum they signed, NCNC still went against every agreement they had before they left Nigeria. That was the one they even discussed before they went to. So, to be clear, they didn't have any meeting, but it was not because, he thought he knew more than him, and then when he now got there, thank you very much, Empress. He thought he knew more than him, and then when he now got there, they now voted against him. No, what actually happened was that the North moved an opposing motion. It's like when you go to the House of Representatives right now, you have a bill. I'm just using a crude example. You have a bill. Most likely you have people that are supporting you. You bring up the bill, the ayes have it. You say, hey, if you are for the bill, say hi. If you can first read it, second read it. People say no. What's on here? I don't know how I always want to be blamed for that one. I mean, there are many things to blame Awo for, but that's one of, there are very few things to blame Awo for, to be honest. But that was never one of the few things. Anyway, I hope I even answered the question, because I think I was.
Yes. Lastly,
I said.
Last time, okay.
Oh yeah, ask what you want to ask, but nobody's coming up again. I beg. Just one more question, but you go do them for like 1 minute.
No
Just
problem.
ask the question.
No problem. Which set of generation are responsible for failure of leadership in Nigeria? Is it the second generation or third generation? By the time the impunity, corruption, your indiscipline, you understand, introduced into the governance before it become well embedded into the system. As a historian, I want to know your.
I'm not a.
You are a good student of history, whether it is your original field or not. All I know, you are a student of history, so that is why I ask you these questions.
Thank you. I'm actually trying to find. There's something I was supposed to read that I didn't read.
Because what I observe is that one thing that we cannot take away from the First Republic leaders, at least there was no corruption.
There was corruption. There was corruption.
But they are saints. They are angels.
They are not angels. Let me say. You know what?
They are.
Okay, let me answer.
Compared to where we find ourselves now today.
No.
They are angels.
Hold on now. You've asked the question now.
They die as a poor.
Okay. Who is the poor? Okay, I read you. Which book was I reading yesterday? I was reading a number of books yesterday, so I'm trying to remember the particular one. What you mentioned is what by the way, was siphoning money madly. Took land in Lagos and they said to rent it to go. It's not corrupt. The house in his hometown, sef, which book was it? I would have loved to read it to you. Listen, these people.
Prof,
Let me answer your question this way. Let me answer your question this way.
okay.
Let me answer your question this way.
But continue with Mbadwe or whatever you call him. This is the first time that I'm hearing this. It will help me.
But he was a very corrupt man. Everybody knew now. I need to remember. I need to read that thing to you. I could say it to you, but it's not because people now. Because I said something earlier. Someone say, "Oh, where's the source?" I read it yesterday. I read this one yesterday too. It can't be in this book, was it? Listen, people
Between him and Ekotebo, which one is more corrupt?
Oh,
Because
both of them
some
were
people
corrupt.
are saying, huh?
Both of them. So I mean, it depends on the definition of corrupt at this point. Let's just. I'll find that book. It's, you know what? There are certain statements that what if I make them, I try to, substantiate and say read these things, so it doesn't look like I'm just, trying to make a person
Okay,
look
so
bad.
let us leave it.
Let me
for
finish it.
another
Let me
day.
answer
But
that
where
question.
do
You asked
think
no.
this thing
Wait
started?
now, Jesus Christ. Let me just say, I don't hear your question. I mean, I talk now. I don't forget what I want to talk, self. Wait, I want to talk now. I'll go find that book for you. But may I answer the question what you ask? I don't know if you can say, because if you say First Republic, Zeke was in First Republic now. Zeke took £877,000 from the Eastern region in 1955. And that matter went all the way to, this one I can even tell you, I can give you the source. I don't have to. That matter went all the way to House of Lords. And there was a First Assorting Tribunal. He was a First Republic leader. He was corrupt. Orisu had taken about 50 something thousand, something £1,000 or whatever that he took from the schools, the communities that were sending their children to school abroad, and he chopped the money and he was sent to prison. Mbadiwe was flying members of his family with Nigerian Airways to New York. They were not paying anything. He was building mansions. He was taking lands. I promise you, next time we come here, I will tell you exactly. Because someone come and ask now, hey, where did you find it? Where did you find it? If I find it, I'll let you know. But the point is, there's nothing like somebody is not of First Republic. The Azikiwe is who he is today because we chose to look at him that way and say he's Pan-African and Nigerian father, which is okay. Let's not. It's okay, but the foundation for stealing was laid by some leaders in the First Republic. And then, when the coup took place January 15, 1966, and you now had this speech by the sound is disturbing me, by Cardinal Zogu. Cardinal Zogu said they're going to go after the tribalists, the people taking 10%, all those things. In his mind, he was doing it in the north. Nobody did it in the south. By the time the military got in, I think they just entrenched that thing in government. So I'm very careful not to say, okay, which is more corrupt. I just know the foundation for corruption was laid in the First Republic. In fact, it was laid before independence because Zig did his own in 1955. Orizu did his own in 1953. And then all this corruption, Ikejani did his own in UI. All these things have been there. I don't want to say one is better than the other. It's just to say that even if we know which one is worse, we won't be able to do anything with it because we can't learn anything from which one is worse. We can just say that we should not be corrupt. Yes, people talk about Okotiebo, but Okotiebo was also used by the British to funnel resources into NTNC. Let me read that one. At least I can find that one quickly because I can find it where it's far well. You know what? Since I couldn't give you the first one, let me give you the second one. Mambo. This is. I'll have to end in the next 5 minutes, Sha. I was also corrupt. Really? Let me know. Egbiri. What did you take from your father? What did you take from your father? Oh? Okotiebo was actually very. See, what I was saying about Okotiebo was that Okotiebo was very extravagant. You would have, you know how those, you know the rapper now. Okotiebo will wear clothes there, put on, put the rapper on the shoulder. That rapper will now go all the way. It could be 20 feet. I'm not exaggerating. If I can find the picture, I will show you. 20 feet, and that the other end will now be held by a boy. Okotiebo Jaye Kaye. So his was more pronounced because he was just flaunting stuff into anybody. So maybe that's why a lot of people talk about him. But Badiwe was not better. If I find, even you can find that picture. If you look for Okotebo, there is one where, but I was flaunting it. I mean, okay, I found one. Let me show you. Maybe this will help you see why it's actually quite for into it. Baba Jaye Kayesha. I'll show you. Even you will be like, it was ostentatious, right? And people saw it. Perhaps that's why they always chat about Koteb. I'm going to show you some of his images. I'm putting them a number of them. Make of that whatever you will, but let's start with this one. You see the boy at the back? That's the rapper that is around his neck. Oh. That rapper is from Okotebo body. That's Okotebo at the front, you know, saying hello to everybody. Let me show you another one. You see, if people they see this thing every day, then go to say, even if you're not corrupt, they will say you are corrupt. You see, that one's job is to be putting cloth around his neck. Okpabel, if you are really interested in the Okotebo, we can tell you where to find them. In fact, you can find them online yourself. Just look for him. It's like that. There are many pictures of him like that. The thing about him is that it was ostentatious, but it was by no means the most corrupt amongst them. It was just that it was so obvious, it was so glaring, like but it's not like it was worse than anyone. Let me even read to you what I said I was going to read from the book. I'll read from A Fatherless People. This was how the British funded NCNC after they dealt with in fact, let me read from that part. In the East, they forced a certain tribunal into Zig's African Continental Bank, found that it was insolvent. The principal use made of the public deposits in the ACB was to finance Zig's various business. In other words, Eastern Region was making money, putting it in the bank, in his own bank, right? He was not using that money to finance his own companies, but all those companies failed. The principal use made of the public deposits in the ACB was to finance Zig's various business ventures. In 1955, the Eastern Region Finance Corporation invested large sums in the ACB, money which had come from the Eastern Region Marketing Board. In turn, Zig financed his party, the NCNC. In 1955, the ACB and Zig's businesses were virtually bankrupt. In 1959, the Development Board took over the ACB. I'll jump very quickly. The whole reason Azikiwe had been rescued by them, that's Awolowo. If I let me go back a bit, it says, the whole reason Azikiwe had been rescued by them in 1953 from the political wilderness of the people of the opposition in the Western region was to serve as a counterweight to Awolowo. More importantly, he and his NCNC party were needed as alliance partners for the North against the Action Group. With his enterprises in financial distress, his only source of campaign funds having been effectively sealed off with this investigation, and with the possibility of jail term for fraud hanging over him From this point on, Azikiwe and through him the NCNC were firmly back under the control of the strategists in the colonial office. Funding for the NCNC now came from other sources. Not all the party leaders were aware, as were Zik and Festus Okotiebo, of the fact that British firms were financing the NCNC and that the British government was actively participating in election rigging and chancery to ensure that the North, with the assistance of the NCNC, ruled Nigeria in the British interest after independence. Okotiebo's ever-growing wealth allowed him to play an independent role in politics, even defying his own party when necessary. He financed the NCNC and was probably more powerful than Zik. When criticized in the House of Representatives in 1960 for his dubious property deals like selling the Department of Labor's trade testing headquarters, a deal put through by British civil servants, he threatened to expose similar deals in the Western region. Western region, by the way, this thing eventually became the Coca inquiry. That thing that he threatened that I was going to do in Western region, Awolowo wrote about it in Adventures in Power Book 2. So when the time comes, we'll read that one too. It has been suggested that as an Ishekiri, Okotiebo could not plunder the Eastern region, so had to be given license to pillage the federal government. A license from Sir James Robertson he exploited to the full. Yeah, they say all kinds of things about him, but the point is that one, I wish I could. This is a challenge with reading multiple books. Now, there's one in my head, but I know it cannot be from that book. I'd have loved to read to you. What Mbadiwe was doing too.
Rob, I think you have done your best. What I want you to answer me now.
No, I'm not answering any question again. No, I'm not answering any question today.
No, it's part of the question. It's the original question that I asked you. You understand? What you did now, you succeeded in educating me that First Republic was not a saint.
No,
there was corruption.
Even Sadana was in.
No, go ahead.
Sadana had the case too now. Sadana also had the case now.
What case? The grandfather of the present Emir of Kano.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, but he never took revenge against his elder brother back in Sokoto when he became premier. Okay. There were two sources. The reason why Sultan jailed him at that time. Number one, they said there's overseeing the collection of tax. It was found out that some money were missing. So it was based on that the Sultan removed him from his position and jailed him. Not even in Sokoto, but in and that was when he started to get contact with the Zik movement, Kwame Nkrumah movement, and things like that. While the second accusation, thought or opinion is that an animosity between Sardauna and his elder brother, the Sultan. So, and then Sultan had been told by his, is it, how to call these people the read stars? Is it astronomers or astrologers, whatever? He has been told that Sardauna will become his boss. He will be receiving instructions from Sardauna. So when he was told about this, he doesn't know how to figure it out. How could he be under Sardauna? Because at that time, there was no MacPherson Constitution or whatever that will at least give him a glance of how the government will be after colonial masters leave Nigeria. So he finally found a way to set him up and jail him. Then the second case is this 10%. Yes, you are absolutely correct. 10% used to be collected in northern Nigeria. But it's good to note this. Number one, it was not Sardona that was receiving the 10% directly.
True.
It was the MPC.
True. True.
Number two, Sardona has nothing to do with that 10%.
True.
Number three, it was the MPC that is giving Sardona the money out of that 10% to be distributing to the people, because number one, he is a prince. So wherever he goes, he has been expected to leave footprint or something that people will be happy. As a prince, he can't go to people or receive people without giving them something. The reason of the MPC, the second reason of the MPC of giving him the money is that the kind of pressure that Sardona is receiving, number one, from Chief Awolowo, because after Awolowo found out that he cannot penetrate north properly, so he decided to carve out the minority, like J.S. Taka from Benue State, like this guy from Borno State, I can't remember. Some of them that are minority, you understand? So Awo was putting pressure for Sardona, seriously.
But that was before 59 now.
But at least I'm giving you layout for you to understand. So that is why I said Awo was given a pressure to Sardona and MPC. And the second pressure that NPC and Sardona were receiving came from Aminu Kano. Aminu Kano used to give them top bites. So that was the second reason of the MPC to be given Sardona money. But let me tell you one thing. Sardona, the house that he has in Sokoto town, was built with clay and thatch. It was Yakubu Ma'adu, then the governor of Sokoto State, who later became the Guard Brigade commander of Bila under Abacha. He was the one when he was governor in Sokoto State. He asked somebody to take him to Sardona House. So when he went to the house, he even met one of his wife that was not dead as at that time. So he was shocked. Is this the house of Sardona? So she started laughing.
Wait. I have seen the video of the house of Sardona, his room, the box containing his clothes. That house is not model, so maybe the one they used before.
That you are talking about Kaduna. The house now is being converted into.
Continue.
That house belonged to the government, but what northern government did later, they retired the house to be the historic this thing, what do you call it? Is it museum or whatever?
Like a museum. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That house.
So that house belongs to the government. That house belongs to the government. I
Yeah.
just want to clear something. It belongs to
Yes,
the
yes, yes,
government
yes.
that it was not living there. Okay, I get the point.
Yes, exactly. That is why it became museum. Even today, if you go to Kaduna, or let me say tomorrow, you can go there and you will meet people that are government workers that will take you around the house and show you where Nzego met Sardona, kill his wife, show you what Sardona left. All the Sardona left, all things, all his belongings that he left behind are there. You will see them.
I've
So
seen
it
that one.
was
Yeah.
Yakumo Azu. It was
So you're
Yakumo
talking about his
Azu.
personal house now.
Yeah, in Sokoto, not the
Okay,
government
okay,
house.
okay.
So it was Yakumo Azu around 93, 94 that bulldozed the house. You understand? And erected
Mm-hmm.
the pitting structure. So Sardona, when he died, I think he left only 9 pounds, if I'm not mistaken, either 9 pounds or less than 9 pounds in his account.
All
Um,
right.
this guy, this elder statesman from Kano, remind me his name,
Aminu
the member
Kano.
of parliament. No, no, not Aminu Kano. The
Inu
other one,
Awada.
Namasani, Metama,
Oh,
Metama
Metamasule.
Sule.
Okay.
Yeah, they all serve together in Lagos. So I saw Metama Sule when he was asked about the uh, 66 school.
You have to
Metama says,
you have to round up now.
okay, okay, okay. Metama says he swear to God when their government was toppled, he had no money to take his family back to Kano. He mentioned someone that he had to went to see him to borrow money for him to be able to put his family into the is it rail or train? My English is poor. Remind me, you are the one that is Oibo.
No worry. I they feel you. I they take like that. No worry.
Okay, at least I ran off. But what you didn't say to me is one. All I asked you, where did we started getting it wrong?
From
Maybe
the
next time you
beginning,
can answer me.
we started getting it wrong
But
from the
but
very beginning.
but at least at that time, even if there were corrupt members, they were limited, and I doubt if they were doing it with impunity. And I
No,
believe you cannot say that it is embedded into the system just like
no,
it is today.
no. So when you think of where we got it wrong, you are thinking of corruption. When I think of where we got it wrong, I'm thinking of structure. So corruption is human nature, right? It's terrible, but you can at least manage it. And what you said about Sadauna, by the way, let me applaud you for. I wanted it to be that you be the one to make those statements, not me. So thank you very much for saying it the way it is. And it's also important to mention that what Sadauna did is similar to what happened in the Western region. What the Northern region did, what MPC did, is similar to what happened in the Western region with AG as well. In AG's case, so like in your what you said, for instance, they will take 10%, but then the money. By the way, the money was used. Oh boy, the money was used for the party, right? The same thing for AG. AG also had that kind of structure. What they did was a bit more structured, though. They would take the money and then use it to. They had this NPIC, was a corporation, was property, where they have people like Alfred Ruwani, Altunde Rosiji. They were the major people who would own. It was too. That one is just out of this world. It was too. That one is just out of this world because the man would take the money. I mean, I'm looking at the book in front of me right now, but I don't want to open it so I don't get into other things today. It's called Federal Government in Nigeria by Eme Oawa. You have a situation where corruption was just a normal thing in some parts of this country. For instance, you take the money, you put it in your own bank, you not take money from that bank, you put it in your own company, and then you now take part of that money and put it in the NCNC. There is no it's just corruption. But to answer your question, because of time, is 10 minutes to 8. The thing is, I think that the structure from the beginning is what got us where we are. That's my own. It's not even the corruption thing. Corruption is not even the issue. It's the kind of structure that allows for growth regardless of, and that can also take care of corruption when it's getting out of hand. We didn't have that structure. I mean, I don't think it was perfect. It wasn't good enough. Let me put it that way. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't just good enough. That's the point. Then there was something I wanted to say. I'm tired. I think that even as imperfect as it was still bearable until the coup. Without that coup, I think it was difficult, but would have eventually come out of the doldrums. For the Western region, it wasn't even the coup. This thing is deep. Let me answer you on Wednesday, because I was going to tell you that even the structure we had was not good. Because if the structure was good, how were they able to do what they did to Awo? The structure allowed them to do that. So for me, I think it was very strong. I don't like the kind of structure we had at independence was not good. It wasn't going to allow us grow. But as bad as it was still okay, although there were a lot of issues. By the time the military boys struck in January 66, everything just went to the dogs. So if you're asking me what major thing happened, it's not the corruption to me. And I'm not saying corruption is good though, but I think that the coup was a major issue. Someone says, who was funding AG? I literally just explained it now. Every region, every party had to raise money. Some, you will think like, these people have sense. Invest it in corporations. From your revenue and from your profit, you run the party. But the person who is running those corporations is not the Oga of the party. It's not Awo. I mentioned Rwani. I mentioned one of these. We'll talk about it. I'm quite tired now. They will run this stuff. They will make money from that one. They were running the party. Somehow they had to raise money. From the north, with the north, they got money to run the party. But again, if you notice the way Abdurrahman explained it, they were not getting money from the region to spend on the party. In terms of just collect money, just spend them. What Zeke did, that from the region, put it in his bank, took money from his bank, put it in his companies, took part of that money, put it in NCNC. That one is, in fact, you know what? Before I go, let me read something. I was looking for that Umbadewe thing. I can't find it here. Another day, another time. But let me just read this one very quickly. By the way, this book was written by someone from the East. So before you call me a tribalist, just know that I saw it briefly right now. I think you might like it. Should be 43, I think. Okay, good. This one's even very interesting. In the meanwhile, the three dismissed. This book is called Foundation. What was the title of this book again? Federal Government in Nigeria by Awa. MS says here. In the meanwhile, the three dismissed federal. I don't go back to talk about what happened at the Just Convention and how the Cameroonians and the ethics were dealt with by the NCNC. In the meanwhile, the three dismissed federal ministers formed the United National Independence Party, whose members told a different story about the Eastern regional crisis. For instance, Jaja Wachuku quoted an editorial in the West African Pilot to show that the basic cause of the dispute was the failure of the Ayoeta government to approve a loan of £500 to the Onitsha Urban District Council for market improvement. The government under Richard's constitution had apparently promised to make the loan, and the NCNC had endorsed it, but the Ayoeta government, believing the amount too large for one local project, balked at approving it. Wachukwu maintained further that some of Azikiwe's lieutenants who lacked formal power in any government had joined in the crusade to reshuffle the government in hope of obtaining power. This is where I'm going. Another element in the crisis was the NCNC's decision that the Eastern Regional Government should deposit about £30,000 in the African Continental Bank, founded by Azikiwe, in order to encourage indigenous banking in Nigeria. Eyoita had pointed out that such a deposit would contravene the law because the bank, owing to financial difficulties, had not been licensed. The attitude of the Ita government, ridiculed as being pious and moralistic, was the basic cause for the charges of weakness leveled against it. Ita is of the opinion that it was Azikiwe's lieutenants, Ojike, Owanfo Rizu, and Zumba Badiwe, rather than Azikiwe himself, who aggressively pushed the issue until the crisis occurred and his government was dismissed. It is certain, however, that the Ita government felt itself unable to carry out the directives of the NCNC on these issues. This is where I'm going. As at 53, they were trying to get £30,000 of the Eastern Region money into Zig's bank. This man said no. By 55, they were not talking about 30,000, they were talking about £877,000. So I would not say some people are better than others. I'll just say that we should have had a better structure that would have allowed for growth, regardless of stuff. But like I said, I have a lot to actually say to answer that question, but I'm quite tired and I've got to run. It's been a nice session. Someone is trying to come out. I can't bring anybody. Oh, Prof, you are the one. Please, can you do 2 minutes so that I can just play the anthem and go? So let me just bring you up because I noticed the number, but I just didn't. But since you are here now, maybe just 2 minutes and then we can quickly close.
Ekale, you've said what I want. So I won't keep you for long. But to what I think Abdul Rahman was saying, that was true. All those northern officers that were killed, they didn't find money in their account, right? They were not rich people. So all the corruption nonsense was a bit unfounded. However, you have a man like Mbadi that built a £500,000 house in Arizona, and that's serious.
I must find that book. Emma, sorry,
and and they left him, right? So that's some of the absurdity of that situation. The other issue was that the British funding of this, I don't think they were giving him money, right? But they turned their eyes away from the corruption, right? They just allowed them to be stealing because that was part of the grand plan. If you read James Robertson's book, James Robertson said his main objective and what he was told by the colonial office was to make sure that at all costs, Northern Nigeria should remain in the Federation. So he said, after the 59 election, and there were rumors of alliance between NCNC and H, he wrote it in his book, this must never be allowed to happen. And then some paragraphs later said that he was surprised when Sikh came with Sadana and Tafawa Balewa to his office. Of course, he shouldn't be surprised because he knew what they were doing. If you look at the correspondence of that period, the way they talk about Sikh, they said even people are ashamed of him for that corruption and things like that. So they know, so it was a tool in their hand and they praised him for all the work he did for them. The last point was about what did you just mention now? You just mentioned something like that. How did I just forget this?
Is it about £877,000?
The 877. Oh, it's about Eyoita.
Eyoita, okay.
So two things: Eyoita and structure. I'll just use 30 seconds to leave. If you understand that 1950 election, and I think I mentioned my own right on that election, but part of it, and I think Emir Awa, either Emir Awa or Kalezera also noted it in their book, that the same thing that happened in West Africa too.
It's a bit noisy. the background noise is a bit much,
How
and I
is it
really
now?
want to hear what you have to say. Okay, it's better now.
Okay. So most of the people that won the election in the eastern region, just like in the western region, were independent, right? So the Ayoita was NCNC, but most people were not NCNC. And Ayoita was appointed the governor and the leader of government business, not because of NCNC, but was a prerogative of the lieutenant governor. But for them to be able to form the cabinet, they had to encourage people to come and join NCNC, right? So the same thing happened in Western region that everybody called carpet crossing. But my point there was that most of the people that won during that election were not Zeke's faithful. So when Zeke went back to the East, his only option was to destroy that government, right? Is to make sure it collapsed. So if it collapsed, then it can eventually put. And immediately got there, they started all sorts of things against your Peter. One of the interesting books you can read on it is from a minority point of view. The late Justice Udo Ojoma wrote about it in his biography, as well as in his book on Nigeria's constitution, right? Now it just got reprinted again by his son. So that's an interesting one about that period. And then on the structure, again, I think the thing about I don't fully agree that the structure. I agree with you that it's part of the issue, but I don't think it's the main issue because in every self-determination, of which independence is the case, people don't always get everything they want. It's a universal stuff in every
Absolutely.
self-determination, and that was what Ojukwu and his people got wrong. By thinking you will get 100% of your demand, it's a universal stuff. It's the same thing that the Gaza people are getting wrong too. You will never get 100% of your demand in any self-determination. However, it's now left for you, right? Either you want to continue the program of the colonialists or you want to improve it. And that is when selflessness comes into play. So I think part of the problem was that we have at the helm of affairs some selfish people who do not think far. In this case, Zeke and his people were one of them. Their whole concern is about how do we find out to all parts of the country. And the first federalism is an issue, and ultimately they have to destroy it. So you have people that always want to destroy it, right? There's something that there's this Jeff Bezos manifesto for managers, which I like a lot, and he will say when something is being deliberated, make a strong point of view, argue, fight, right? Fight, but once you agree on something, don't now try to sabotage it. You have to follow through. That's what it means to be a professional. So you can't sit at the constitutional conference and agree to federalism, but at the same time you are plotting to destroy it, right? You're plotting to destroy it. The second thing also was the inflexibility. I still think that the street constitution was fantastic, but I think it's the inflexibility and still linking back to selfishness of allowing the areas of trouble, the minorities, all those people that want their own federation to have their own federation, so that you have a balanced federation. What we had was a lopsided federation, one large north against two smaller regions. Then one of the smaller regions again got
It's
balkanized.
broken.
Exactly. And then the one in the east does not want to hear anything about giving the minorities their own stuff. The ones in the north do not want to hear the same thing too, right? And that is, that I think is the problem. And that reluctance again, right? The reluctance again happened when Iransi took over, right? People of the Middle Belt were happy and they thought it's going to at least listen to them now. But he also refused, because he could have just created the Middle Belt region, then created the core region from the east. That would have been a balanced federation. But what he did was that he rebuffed the Middle Belters, and then he made all his enemies to align against it, right? Which I think was the biggest problem. The last one is magical thinking. There was a lot of magical thinking around that period. You just have to read from that period. A lot of our so-called intellectuals.
Did you say magical or radical?
Yeah, magical. Yeah. So you have to read a lot of our so-called intellectuals. They were comparing a country that's barely 6 years old with countries like Europe. And like I've always said, Nigerian intellectuals are people that are always in love with dangerous ideas, imported dangerous ideas, right? They don't think things with you. And they're, the same thing we hear today. Oh, in the UK, nobody cares about who you are. Oh, we have been developed. Oh, this tribalism is holding us back. Regional system. They were not saying regional system was good. Even some of our own they were saying the regional system was the problem. It has to be destroyed. Sam Aluku was saying it was wasteful for economic purpose. When in fact, it's a federal system. You don't need to centralize state. You get what I'm trying to say? So I think a lot of those things, that magical, naive thinking, inflexibility in the part of the politicians that were there, and the dishonesty of a certain set of people, right, that wants to advance their own objectives at the expense of others. I think those things, that is how we got it wrong, in my own opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for speaking up when I was tired, because your submission actually highlights a lot of these things. I think it's also something that will probably be discussed on a much larger platform, like as a session on its own, I meant to say. But thank you very much for bringing that up. I want to thank everybody who has been part of today's session. Thank you very much for being here. YouTube, I know we had a little hitch earlier, but thank you also for being back. And I don't know if there's any comments on YouTube. We're just going to check to make sure that we're not leaving out our folks on YouTube. And 1 second. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much for being. Tomorrow we're going to be having another session. It's 1 p.m. Ife time, West African time. I was supposed to bring up the account details while both of them were speaking, but for some reason I just didn't think in that direction. But if you'd like to support what we're doing, please reach out. They will let you know the bank details. You can reach out to me on Telegram at Busui Oris, or on Facebook, Busui Oris as well. And then hopefully we'll be able to tell you how you can support what we're doing, give you the bank details and all of that. Thank you very much for being here. I'm sounding like this because I'm quite tired, but it's been a fantastic session. So we're gonna have to close the session now. For those of us on YouTube, we're gonna let you go because of copyright stuff. But for those of us here on TikTok, we're just gonna have our anthems. That's the Nigerian anthem and also the Yoruba anthem. Thank you very much, YouTube folks, for being here. To have a lovely evening. May God bless you, and may God bless our nation, then our country, Nigeria. Our nation, for me, our nation is Yoruba land. Our country is Nigeria. May God bless everyone, and this is well with us in Jesus' name. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow, 1 p.m. if your time West African time. Please come early because tomorrow is it's not a full session, and we want to listen to something very, very profound. So please, let's make it a date, 1 p.m. tomorrow. Have a lovely evening, YouTube, and